Welcome back, guys. All right, so now we will continue with the story in this part 2. Thank you and keep on watching. So what happened was I left in September. I left with all of my stuff because by then I had downsized from like 2 luggages. So I had 2 luggages when I came in September 2018 to the country. Two checked-in luggages, one carry-on, one backpack. And then I only had a backpack and like a freaking checked-in luggage. I had given most of my stuff away. Why? Because remember I said I was hopping from one city to the other city and I was flying. So when flying, you have to pay for everything. With most airlines, you only pay for a backpack. If you want to travel with anything else, you're gonna have to pay. I'm like, listen, I only use like 20% of my stuff. I don't need to be paying extra for the other 80% that I'm not using. So I gave away my stuff, like my nice clothes, shoes, hair products, handbags, jewelries, bit by bit. I just started downsizing. And also then I just wanted to have, like I wanted it to be easier for me to pack up and move, because again I mentioned that I stayed in over 20 Airbnbs in Medellin. So I needed to make sure that when it was time for me to move to the next Airbnb, it only take me like a couple hours to pack and a few minutes to unpack. So I had to downsize my stuff. And there was also a few other reasons why I had to, give my stuff away to the local people. So by the time I was leaving, I didn't really have a lot. I didn't have a lot. So, and then I actually gave more of my stuff away to a friend. So she would go into like the villages. She will accept contributions, right, from people, expats, what have you, clothes, shoes, kitchen products, appliances, whatever, package them. She goes to the remote villages and then she would distribute them. So I gave her some of my stuff, like my kitchen stuff, more clothes, more shoes. So here you go. So yeah, and then I just bought a few more souvenirs for family members and such. And then I flew out from Medellin to Toronto. Now that flight there, it was like almost 2 days delay. And then because then I couldn't wait to leave, so the flight that I took, I had 2 layovers in 2 different cities in the US. Again, I was there, if I have to avoid the US, I'm gonna avoid the US, right? So yeah, I also mentioned that I usually prefer direct flights, but because then there weren't so many flights available, I just chose, the very first flight that was available from Colombia, at least from Medellin to Toronto. So, I just couldn't wait to leave. I just couldn't wait to leave. I mean, it wasn't like anything bad happened to me, but I just wanted to leave, just because it's a lockdown. It's like you've been locked in a prison. Because usually in Colombia, sometimes I will go to Cartagena, I will travel, go to other places, but I couldn't really do that because of the restrictions, right? So we were a little bit more mobile. Then I just decided to just, go somewhere else, to go see family, friends, whatever. So this time around, I was in Canada for just about 6 weeks or so. So I arrived at the end of September, like September 28th or something. And then I left the mid-November. Yeah, so I was there for about 6 weeks or so. So I split my time between Toronto and Edmonton because I have, family on both ends. And also, I had, some stuff left at my sister's house. So I'm also glad that I left my winter jacket and my boots still at my sister's place, because when I went to Edmonton in early November, or maybe late October, it was like winter already. Yeah, winter arrives very early in Edmonton. So, and then I just went to her place. I took my boots, my jacket, and yeah, I wore those for the 2 weeks I was there. After 2 weeks, I was like, yeah, it's been real, ciao. So, and then, but I couldn't go back to Colombia because remember I had mentioned that I overstayed my welcome. I overstayed my welcome by over a year pretty much. And so I couldn't go back till the following year. I had to wait for the year to reset and then go, because Colombia has a maximum of 6 months that you can actually stay in the country per calendar year. So it could be January to June, June to December, February to July, or you can go and come back, but altogether it's like 180 days. Well, obviously mine was way more than that. So, and then, but I couldn't stay in Canada, obviously, till January. I was like, no. Nope, I escaped the winter for a reason. Like, I'm not about to partake in it. No, I'm done. So, unfortunately for me, though, the day I was going to fly out, we had a heavy snowstorm in November, mid-November in Edmonton. Yeah, heavy snowstorm. It came out of nowhere. Like, the day before was like clear, no snow almost. The following day was like snowing heavy. It was really hard to drive, really hard to see. And so obviously our flight was actually delayed. It was delayed for about 4 hours or so. We had to actually come out of the plane because we were just sitting there. And then eventually, right, the pilot was like, okay, you guys have to leave because now we have to change the crew, right? Because the crew, they have, maximum number of hours they could work, right? But because we had been waiting for so long, I think, by the time you add in the flight and everything, I think the crew members will, go over their cutoff time or something. So yeah, so we had to wait for the snow to come down a little bit, or to calm down a little bit while they changed crews. So we we came out of the airport. We came out of the plane. We went back into the airport. We sat there and then we waited for stuff to calm down a little bit. And then got on the plane, and then I flew back to Puerto Vallarta because again, they had direct flights right from Edmonton to Puerto Vallarta. So I went back to Puerto Vallarta for the second time. Whew, I was so happy. Whew. I was like, see sunlight, blue skies, clear skies, no snow. Look at the beach. Look at people like walking outdoor. Wow, I was like, look at food. Oh, I've missed Mexican food, right? I was just eating, like eating all over the place, trying to catch up with the food. Oh my gosh, I had a lot of fun in Puerto Vallarta. So I stayed for about 2 weeks, and then. Yeah, so this was like in November. So I was like, okay, well, let's go back to Mexico City because, I really loved it the last time I was there. So let's go back. Went back to Mexico City. This was in November. Yeah, late November. And then I was like, this is like Bogota. It's cold. Like, what's going on? I had no idea. Mexico City gets cold in the wintertime. Because when I went in the spring. I went in April. So, and it actually rained a lot. But it was okay. This time around, it was cold. I was like, this is like Bogota. Like, no, I'm not doing the cold, right? In the daytime, it's like 20 plus degrees. At night, it drops to like 9, 10, 11, 12. And then everywhere is cold. Like even my duvet wasn't thick enough. It was very thin. And then, to brush your teeth in the bathroom, the water from the tap was like freezing cold. So you have to go maybe get hot water from the kitchen tap or from the shower tap just to, brush your teeth with, because everything was cold, right? And like I was cold already, and I have to brush my teeth, with like cold water. I was like, nope, no way. And then, how did I find out about Merida? Because before that, I had no idea what Merida was, or Yucatan, or anywhere close to that. I knew Cancun. So I was like, okay, went online. And then I was watching some YouTube videos just passively, like some travel in Mexico YouTube videos. And then this girl's video came up, and she was just showing us some affordable apartment in Merida. I was like, Merida, what is that? And then I looked it up on Google Maps. I was like, okay, well, I really need the beach right now, because going back to Medellin, there's no beach. And that means for me to go to the beach in Medellin, I usually have to fly to Cartagena. But hey, let me just spend a month on the coast before flying back to Medellin, Colombia. But I really don't want to go back to Puerto Vallarta. I was just there, and I also don't want to live in Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum, all these places. But hey, where can I go to that, like close to the beach, but not really on the beach, not like a tourist zone. And then I looked up Merida, and then I found out, wait, it had everything I was looking for. It was like a smaller city because Mexico City wasn't only cold, it felt too crowded for me, right? Especially, thinking about, okay, pandemic, social distancing. Also, I work from home. I don't need to be in the city right now. I wasn't even in the mood to, go anywhere. After coming from Canada, where like the streets were empty, everywhere was empty, it was just like it was just too much for me to handle. So I needed somewhere calmer. So yeah, and then I was okay, Merida. Well, that looks cool, and hey, it's actually really close to Cancun. So when it's time for me to fly out and fly back to Medellin, I can always catch a flight from Cancun straight to Medellin, like a direct flight. And I was checking for airline ticket, and I found some affordable ones. So okay, let's go check out Merida, right? So and then I booked my flight. Literally, I booked my flight 30 hours before. Yeah, so I've never booked a flight that late before because I was thinking of going somewhere else. A city called Cuernavaca. It's like just right outside of Mexico City, and it has like a spring-like weather, like Medellin almost, right? But I was like, still, I don't want to be in a city. So it took me so long to figure out where I wanted to go to after Mexico City because my Airbnb, I booked my Airbnb for 2 weeks, and I didn't want to book another Airbnb somewhere else or even extend my Airbnb in Mexico City. I was done with it, but I had no idea where to go to next. So when I found out about Merida, I think 2 days later on, right? Literally, I found out about Merida, and then within 2 days, I was in Merida. Because I meet people who are like, hey, I'm researching about moving to Merida. Oh, I'm moving to Merida in 1 year. Moving to Merida in 8 months. Girl, I moved to Merida within like 48 hours of finding out about it. I had no idea what Merida, Yucatan was, but I just came anyway. So I looked it up on Google Maps. It was a smaller city, really close to Cancun, also close to the coast, so the beach area. Perfect, meaning it's gonna be warm. I saw some YouTube videos about it. It looked nice. I was like, okay, let's go. I flew down. I took the Uber. Then you can actually take the Uber from the airport. Right now, as of right now, November 2023, you have to walk outside of the airport to go catch the Uber, which is, it's like, very close to the street. So I took my Uber, and then it reminded me of my ride from the airport in Medellin to my Airbnb. So the Uber ride was so peaceful, so quiet. This time around, I arrived in the morning, right? Around maybe 10:30 because I took a very early flight from Mexico City. So it was sunny, it was warm, not too warm because I came in December, which is like the cooler summer. They call it winter, but really it's like not winter. It's like the cooler summer of Merida. Perfect time to arrive in the city, y'all. December, January, February. Actually, from November, yeah. November, December, January, February. Those 4 months, perfect time to arrive in the city. I arrived, I was like, wow. Everything felt so calm, so relaxing, so peaceful. The buildings compared to Mexico City, where everything was like congested. Medellin were like high rises everywhere. Merida was like one story, one level houses, maybe maximum 2 stories. In some neighborhoods, like in the north, they have the apartment buildings, but really you can count the number of high rises in the whole peninsula, actually, like in the whole state. Like they don't really have a lot of like high rises like that. And also there weren't too many cars on the road, not too many buses, like the roads were free, pretty much. Like, it felt just relaxing and such. I was like, Medellin. Anyway, so that's how I stayed in Merida. I was like, you know what? the pandemic, I need social distancing. I need to, I need a quiet place, as I also need to work on my business, build, and just, be in a place where I'm just focused on something. Because I knew when I go back to Medellin, I'll be distracted with stuff. So, yeah, I decided to stay like pretty much on the same day that I arrived. I was like, I think this is gonna be my city. Yeah, yeah, that's that's my long journey. A story about how I arrived in Merida, because people ask me all the time, especially the locals. They're like, "Oh, what are you doing in Merida? What brings you here?" Da 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 da. Listen, actually, kind of a long story. I didn't actually plan to be here. I just came here to check it out, and I stayed, and I'm still here. I'm still here after 3 years. I'm still here. I'm still in Merida. And I think one of the reasons why I stayed this long is because I got a really nice apartment, very affordable, very central. So it takes me 10 minutes to ride to the central of the city, like, downtown area of the city. And also Merida, because it's so small, you can bike anywhere and everywhere, right? You can bike anywhere, but mostly I go to Central, so it takes me 10 minutes by bike to get there. Just living. If you're into like simple living, like nothing fancy, like you're not into going out partying and like a crazy lifestyle, then Merida is it. Well, at least it is for me at this very moment, at least for me. Very calm. So I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. That's my story, at least, about how I ended up in Merida, Yucatan. And in my next video, I will be talking about life so far in Merida. So the pros and cons, the things that I like about it, the things that I do not like about it, why I'm still here, even though so many people have come and they've come and they've left, and why am I here? Why am I still here? And what are my plans for the future? Is Merida my last bus stop? Because I mentioned I thought Medellin was gonna be my last bus stop, but it turns out it wasn't. Turns out it wasn't. So, so I will be just talking a lot more about living here in Merida, Yucatan, Mexico, as a winter refugee. Not even a snowbird, because snowbirds, they fly in, they fly out. For me, I'm a winter refugee. I'm a winter refugee. Life as a winter refugee in Merida, Mexico. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.